A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time.
Jerry,
Welcome
to the
back,
A's for
John.
Alcoholic podcast. Yes,
Whenever
you.
you set it up, you're so doctorly. When you set up the sound and everything, you're like, and there's this, and there's that, and now we'll do this. Okay, you'll feel a bit of a pinch. Okay.
You're gonna feel a bit of a pinch, and look at the birdie over here, and here you go. Here's a lollipop.
Yeah, here's a little pressure, a little bit of pressure.
Well, I mean, it is a bit of a pinch, right? I mean, sobriety, recovery, especially in this time of fucking madness.
Yes.
A is for alcohol. A is for alcoholic. I don't want to sound like a drunk when I'm saying it, but podcast.
Right. That's how we're firing this one off.
Today's letter is C. We're going to talk a little bit about which we're going to say is C is for closed ears don't hear. And I think the notion behind that when we came up with it was unwillingness. Not just because we talk about listening all the time, and we've probably repeated ourselves, I don't know, 6 dozen times already about different things, but I think that this unwillingness to see things in a different way is what allows all of the bad behavior and the self-destructive, self-will, like you said, run rampant and ruin things in a big, big way.
Yeah. I also think the irony of us talking to you for an hour about listening is pretty funny. Because we're like, yo, you need to fucking open your ears, and we're not going to listen. We're just going to talk at you for an hour. It's funny. It's not a bad thing.
No. It's funny. I mean, that's the medium. But yes, you are correct. There is a little bit of irony is that right now somebody's listening, and we're like, hey, you need to listen. And they're like, I am listening. Well,
right. They're like, why don't you guys listen? And
seriously.
We're like,
we should. And I'm trying to be as open-minded as I can, and I'm always like, especially now, and again, we got kind of political a few episodes back, and I don't know that there's any way to get around it in the world the way it is, but I try to be as open-minded as I can about different opinions, but I'm also not interested in second guessing myself to the point of like gaslighting. You know what gaslighting is, right?
Yeah.
Like plotting something.
Yeah. When I was drinking, I used to do it to people. Yeah.
And it's basically just like trolling or, making somebody feel like they're crazy. Like you're crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
that their reality is not actually reality. Yeah.
And so I'm trying to be open-minded, but I'm also not interested in gaslighting myself to the point of, well, I don't know. Is what I'm believing really true? Is this really happening? Like, are the people that are on my side really accurate? Maybe I should listen to the other side and this side, and that side. And I feel that it's important. Every single person's going to have a different perspective and a different outlook on life. If you say, if you suffered some severe loss, or if you were lied to in some grand way as a child, you're going to be somebody who seeks the truth. And so that may open you up to different things that you wouldn't normally. And I think like maybe C could be for conspiracy theories, but I think that's where some of the conspiracy theorists come from, is that these are people who genuinely want to seek the truth. Right. And I don't think there's, I think that comes from something in someone's childhood that has led them to be this truth seeker. And that's oftentimes some sort of trauma of being lied to or deceived, or having your whole life, thinking it was one way and then finding it out it was another, and being like, well, that's what authority does. They lie to you.
Right. They fuck you over. Yeah.
So everybody has their own perspective. I think for me, it's important that I go, okay, this is what I believe. It's okay for me to believe this. And we can't go around. We have to be open to new ideas, but I can't keep upending my belief system every time somebody else says something, right?
Yeah.
So the faith that I have in my sobriety, in my version of God, is that, well, one, everything's going to be okay. And somebody also, and so this is something, because you were talking about feeling hopeless. I was texting back and forth with a friend of ours, and he was pretty hopeless as well, and feeling disparaging. And
I already know exactly who this
is. You know who it is.
Yes.
So
because I have hopeless conversations with this person as well. Right. I love him. I love
him too. I love him too very
much.
No,
man, I love the hopeless conversations too. I do. I love them. I indulge myself in this shit so much, dude. It's awful. So but go ahead.
At some point, I was trying to give an alternative viewpoint, right? Something that like some positivity. And he said something, and I don't know if he was being smart, and I don't think so. I think he was being genuine when he texted me and said, "Hope is your religion, John." Mm-hmm. And I thought about that, and I was like, huh, is hope my religion? I mean, is that what I put faith in? Is that what I mean, and is there anything wrong with, am I being so delusional that I am allowing toxic positivity into my life? Like, I'm still pretty realistic, and you know what I mean? Like,
I love it. Yeah.
Complicated things, but like, I'm trying to be hopeful and positive, and I try to like live, like we always talk about, live in gratitude, and I love to roll my eyes at that one too when I feel like everything is so fucked up. But like,
right,
I eat nectarines off the tree in my front yard, Jerry.
Yeah, that's something to be. That gives you a little hope, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because I think I needed it. I really did, because I think there's no binary, right? There is no binary. Does not exist in nature. You can always find in between points in the binary. Yeah. Like you're either alive or you're dead, but there's always that twilight in the middle. Do you know what I'm saying? Just like day and night, there's always twilight and dusk. And so for me, that feeling of hopelessness has always been this binary, non-binary feeling where I kind of gray in and out of it. And even in early recovery, I'd gray in and out. And so it was my shades of gray were my like temperament, points of my temperament, you know? And so right now I'm really into the dark gray because I have been feeling really hopeless. But then I talk to you and you kind of pull me back a little bit from it, because there is a reality there for you. Like you do get to eat tangerines off the tree. You do get to put on like your doctor glasses and shit and just fucking flex them, you know? Like, and so I was sitting in my backyard with my wife last night, and she's great, man. She's so happy. She's growing stargazer lilies and watering the lawn, and everything is very optimistic and upbeat for her. And that's why I love her. And I just looked at it. She's like, man, your face. And I just erased Twitter again for the second time in my life. I was on Twitter for all of like a week and was like,
I know, I was going to say, you just got on.
It was gross, dude. Ugh. People are so gross. But so I was just so bummed out just by all of it. Like I just watched the news and I was just like, I'm so fucking hopeless. Like there's nothing. Like I am so far in the gray, I'm almost in the black. Like there's just a void. Like what do we do? I've not realized who I'm saying this to is this woman who's like stood by me for everything. And I got my kid inside who is this total example of like the positive things I can create in my life. And I'm like, you know, Jerry, you're just indulging yourself. Like it's all self-will run riot right now. Like you're just feeling fucking sorry for yourself because you're healthy. You ran 5 miles today, although I didn't run a great 5 miles. I gassed out pretty hard, but that's because I'm only running twice a week. But regardless of that, so I need these talks once a week, you know, because you're like the opposite. You're like Megan. You're like the opposite end of the spectrum, you know, like you're like, it's such a huge change in you, man, you know, yeah, I would like, if I were to describe John, I'd be like, yeah, John's a really optimistic, upbeat, spiritual dude who does push-ups in front of the paint store. Like it's just everywhere, just doing push-ups. And I'm over here doing 5 miles, getting gassed a mile into it and being like, man, this run I've already thrown it away, you know, instead of experience the rest of it for what it is, you know.
The worst runs are better than no runs at all, man. And like,
exactly.
It's when I sent you that song and you listen to that song, it's an Anderson .Paak song called Lockdown, about
song.
You know, it's really beautiful. And you said, yeah, it's kind of slow for my pace. And I was like,
when I run,
right. And I didn't text you back, and I was like, I don't want to tell him how to run his runs, you know.
Down, Jerry.
But I was like, what I wanted to say was like yesterday, what I love about those slower songs is like when I get to like and I was going to say to you, what I wanted to say was when you start running longer, you're going to find like you're going to love this like slow pace in certain periods. When you start doing like 6, 7, 8, and 9 miles,
Right,
which I
because
know
I'm
sounds
just
probably
walking for
crazy.
my slow pace. No, it doesn't sound crazy at all. I want to get to
Okay.
6, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we should have a walking convo or a running convo. I mean, we could do it now. It's our podcast, whatever, But like, yeah, I do a lot of I walk in it, like so,
Sure.
and my pace is like I go between 140 and 150 BPM in the songs. That's my count. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I count bars when I run,
Okay.
and you had sent me that really beautiful like soul song, and I have a hard time finding the rhythm to run along because they are so slow. I feel like I'm doing speed walking in the mall. Like I feel self-conscious because I'm trying to still maintain my activity, but at the same point.
What was the song that I sent you?
Oh, Mike something. It was like Mike's. I don't know if it's on the mix anymore.
Mike and the Mechanics?
No, it wasn't
Living
Mike and
Years?
the Mechanics.
I don't know, man. I can't find it in our little thing. But yeah, I just think that it's important to, we want to do this for the long haul, and you want to be able to like go 9 miles and do some fucking push-ups outside the paint store in between.
Right.
Or that was at the tail end of my
Great
run.
fucking metaphor though for it, right? Going the long haul. Here we go. Here's how we're gonna button running into fucking recoveries. It is about that long haul and that
It is.
and pacing yourself and listening to an slow Anderson .Paak song instead of me doing "Can't Stop" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers over and over again.
Which is great, and you should, and that's how you're gonna get faster. That's a great one.
What do I know? It's "Pressure" by Billy Joel is a fucking great running song. So, and I'm like, yeah, pressure.
Oh yeah, that is a good one, right? Mm-hmm. I think if we think of hopelessness and hope as so we break our recovery down into little increments, whether it be, we talk 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 breath at a time. And so if you try to look at the entirety, if you said, Jerry, you're never going to get to drink again, and you were trying to get sober, you'd be like, I'd be fucking devastated. I'd be like, what? I can't do that. I can't not drink for the rest of my life. Yeah, we constantly remind ourselves that like, well, I might drink tomorrow. I might drink this afternoon, and I think I think there's some relief in that we don't have to carry that pressure of always the hopelessness of never drinking again or never, And so I think the same thing can be said about finding small doses of hope in every single day to get you through. Because if you read the news and you are trying to decipher, what's going on and what's for real and what's not, and who's good and who's bad and what's really going on, like you're never going to go, you have to like break it down, because not only that, our brains are not equipped to what did I say? Like handle the woes of the world.
Yeah, you can't solve all the problems. That's the thing. I'm sitting there getting upset and I'm feeling bummed out. And then I have to tell myself, like, I can't fix this anyway. There's only one way I can do my part. And that's how I'm doing it. I'm staying at home. I'm not going out. I'm not going fucking wilding out shopping with no mask, losing my shit, like being fucking rude to everybody. I'm not, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing my part. I'm doing what I have to do, yeah, I can't fix. The only thing I can do is, I guess, if we're going to get political for a second, the only thing I can do is vote and then see where that goes and if that means anything. But other than that, I can't, like, go up to the White House and do all my snappy fucking comebacks at fucking president and be like, oh yeah, what about this? Like, I can't do that. That's not a reality of my life, but I sit here and think, man, I cannot go to a group of wild ass fucking right-wing protesters somewhere and be like, listen guys, you gotta listen to me. They're gonna be like, hit the road, soy boy. And nobody, those motherfuckers don't want to hear what I have to say. And I don't really want to hear what they have to say either, though. So I guess that's just a disconnect. Then that's unfortunate, because I really try my hardest to be open. I'm kind of meandering off the path here, but I guess what I'm saying is, like, what did we learn early? We learned surrender and we learned powerlessness, right? And I know people have issues with powerlessness, and I know a lot of people have issues with surrender. And I got to really apply that right now. It's like I got to let go of these things. Just like if And I guess I'll make a direct call to people out there listening to the podcast. If you're listening to this podcast and you're like, yo, I can't wear a mask because it's my right. Like, if you're in recovery, you should know, like, surrender is a good part because you're doing something good for yourself and the people around you. Just like you had to surrender alcohol, sometimes you have to surrender your idea of what you think your rights are, or what you and that's a really weird slippery slope I'm kind of walking down right now, but you just kind of have to surrender your idea of what your power is. Because sometimes you have to take your medicine to make sure that you're okay and everybody else around you is okay. And if that means wearing a goofy ass mask, then wear that fucking silly ass mask. Jesus Christ. It's not like we're asking you to put on some ridiculous rollerblades and a watermelon helmet. God damn.
I think I've seen that picture.
You have.
Is that the guy in the underwear with like the house on fire behind him, and he's got rollerblades and a watermelon helmet?
Yeah, that's my fucking higher power right there, dude.
Yeah, I always look at it like, it's one thing to go, well, God's going to take care of me, so I don't need to worry about stuff. But it's more like, oh, God is giving me these things. He's putting these things, or she or they or whatever, putting these things in my life like masks so that I can go to the store. And man, I don't know. It ain't no sweat. I know a friend of mine who's really he's not buying it, but he's like, I keep the peace. I can go. I was like, dude, yeah, you can go into a store for 15 minutes. There ain't no CO2 business. I mean, I was in healthcare for 5 years and I wore a mask every single day.
Right.
For 5 years.
You don't like it? That's fine. Go. If you got to be out in public, wear it. As soon as you get out of the store, tear the thing off and yell, fuck you, and go in your car and cry or whatever and listen to fucking whatever, System of a Down or whatever. I like System of a Down, actually. But you can dig what I'm saying. Just fucking do it for that short period of time. You're not going to die in 15 minutes from wearing a mask. Yeah. Unless you have like hardcore COPD. And if you have hardcore COPD, you should be having some other motherfucker do your shopping for you. I think we kind of meandered off the thing.
That's
there.
Okay.
The idea is more like surrender and acceptance and powerlessness. We are powerless over this virus. We cannot control this virus. The only way we can control it is by controlling ourselves.
And I think also that we are part of a larger, well, I think that we're also part of a larger group, right? So when you talk about being part of the group, and when we go to AA, and I know meetings and hand holding and stuff like that hasn't really happened for a lot of folks, and but it's not about what I can take. It's about what I can bring. And if I focus on what I can bring, I end up getting a lot more. So if I can bring kindness, if I can bring compassion, if I can bring listening, if I can bring willingness, then I receive a lot more. I'm open to receive things. And I feel like there's, in early sobriety, there's this like, we're closed off, right? We're just like angry and frustrated and resentful. And there's zero hope because like there's the part of us that we have known for most of our lives is dead.
Yes. Yeah.
We went through this death, right? I went through this death and I saw myself dying right in front of my eyes in many ways, where I was like, I don't want to be this person anymore. And also I'm too afraid to be this new person. Right. And so it's like, I'm watching myself die, but I have to kill this part of me so that I can move on and, Phoenix and ashes and rebirth and all that stuff.
Right.
But I really feel like, especially now, being hopeful, it's like, you remember, you've seen the Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, and, a bunch of times. Yeah.
Me too. And Red says to Andy, he says, hope is a dangerous thing. And Andy looks at him and says, hope is the only thing. And so, I mean, there's a lot of weird, deep, like Christian undertones to that movie.
Right.
But it's a beautiful movie and I love a lot. I mean, it's one of my favorites of all time. And I really believe that to be true. And I was like, hope is my religion. And I was like, well, what is a religion? Am I being blinded by something? Am I being unrealistic? Am I missing something? I don't know, man. I really don't know. I mean, I try to look and see, but I always get all fucking tangled up in like I said, gaslighting myself to make sure that I'm doing things right.
Right. It's like almost you're checking your temperature by gaslighting yourself. Because I do the same thing. I'm glad we're circling back to the gaslighting thing because there have been numerous times where I've asked myself, am I just being too extreme? Like, am I being super paranoid? Am I being high strung? When the virus first went down and people first started getting sick, I was like, man, this is fucking freaky. Like, we did this big, I mean, if you go back a few podcasts, we did this big Friday the 13th event, and this was on March 13th. We had a whole shop full of people, and this is right when the virus was hitting. And I remember just being concerned about it and being told by my coworkers, like, you're too fucking high strung. You over exaggerate, like you're just overwhelming yourself. And sometimes now I think, man, am I being too high strung by not being out there in the world? Like, I don't even go to the grocery store, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel lucky that I have the privilege that I figured out that I can just have the good fucking frontline workers at Walmart put it in the back of my truck or my car, But my gaslighting is always me telling myself that I'm taking it too far. But at the end of the day, it's like, what is acceptable to me and comfortable to me and for my family, Like that's where we sit with it.
That's it. That's it, because that's what's most important. And it wouldn't be helpful for me to point at you and be like, look, man, you're blowing this out of proportion.
Right.
You need to fucking shake it off and you need to get out there. And it's like, well, I don't feel comfortable getting out there because I feel uncertain. I don't, I'm trying to do my best. And I believe that you're trying to do your best. Right. So that's it. And
I think we're both trying to do our best, Yeah. That's all I can do. I mean, other than just going out there and being active, but even politically active at this point, like I'm not comfortable getting into a large crowd of people. I just can't do that yet.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw Hamilton.
Oh,
have you seen
Disney
Hamilton
Plus
yet? Let's say.
No.
Oh, I mean, I found it other ways, but yeah.
Yes. How was it?
I fucking loved it so much, but was so conflicted the entire time because it felt weird to watch, John, because I loved it. I thought Lin-Manuel is a great fucking writer. The whole time I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, this dude was a slam poet because everything is written the way a fucking slam poet would write this shit. And all the musicians are great. They did rap like perfectly. Like every time you see any expression of rap out there in the world, it's done in that manner. It's always hella corny. And it was great. Like all those dudes had bars. They all could rap. But it was really weird. This weird disconnect of being like, all those dudes were fucking slave owners. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, Thomas Jefferson comes out and they kind of portray it because this is like Obama's America. Like back then, you know what I'm saying? Like that left wing kind of idealism we had before checking ourselves on shit sometimes. Yo, dude, they had Thomas Jefferson come out. And he was like the coolest fucking dude, super cool, kind of a dick, but like a cool rakish dude, And the whole time I'm like, that guy was a fucking monster, though. Like he was not a good dude, Like you look at him. So it was, I don't know how I sucked into Hamilton, but I watched it and I loved it. My favorite part was the fucking King George. So I would suggest if you find a way to watch it, watch it. I don't fuck with Disney Plus just because I don't like Star Wars and the Marvel movies are a good distraction, but I'm not so committed that I'm going to pay every month to watch fucking Iron Man over and over again, especially when I can find it other ways.
But if that's what gets you through those early days of recovery, please.
Yo, dude, you know what? Disney Plus it up. These are just my opinions and my tastes. Right. Yeah. And I know people get upset and they're like, how dare you not like Star Wars? And I'm like, yo, dude, if you told me you didn't like Squid, I wouldn't fucking write you an angry email. So chill, dude. Like it's just all opinions, I guess. But anyway, Hamilton was good. You should do it. Okay. If you like musicals, I don't know. It's very interesting, John. It's a huge watching Hamilton in 2020, which was performed like in 2016 it was 2013. I don't remember when they did it, but it's from a performance during the Obama presidency, and the way we looked at culture then and the way we look at culture now is so different. Just in a few short years, man.
I think that I haven't seen it. I'll check it out. I'm open to that. I think that there's definitely we seem as a culture to be more concerned with behaviors of the past and and not just saying, oh, well, this happened and he was a slave owner, when the fact is that these people were, I don't want to,
it just needs to be a little asterisk next to it. You know what I mean? That's
yes.
what I'm saying, is like the asterisk needs to be there. I can't discount all the things that the founding fathers did to start the country. We can't discount that. We wouldn't be living in this country. But part of this country is also disagreeing with tradition and looking at the traditions that are there and being like, wait, there's something wrong with that. That needs to be fixed, or that needs to be revised. That's why the Constitution has fucking amendments on it, dude.
And so
they're like, wait a sec, Anyway,
so I'll bring it back to recovery, in that I think that a lot of the programs and the programs that we work, I see a lot of places where things can evolve and change and need to. And I see that a lot of people we overlook a lot of things, right? And go, yeah, well, it does mostly good, so let's not fuck with it. And it's like, I think amendments are good, and going back and rehashing our own histories, just personally as human beings, and trying to look back as to what are the things that cause these illnesses within us, mentally, physically, whatever. And if we can change those and fix those things, like I had, I'll give you an example. I was told by my therapist to write a letter to my father, who's been dead for 9 years.
Yeah.
So I sat outside last night. The sun was going down. The nectarine trees are there, and it's
the nectarine in each
basically
hand. Like
kind of
fucking Jungle Booking it out there with all the fruit off the trees.
Basically. And so I wrote this thing, and then she had me read it to her this morning, and it was heavy, dude. It was like,
I bet it was heavy, man.
Right?
Yeah,
and so.
Absolutely.
And so these things are just memories I have, and not just, but they're memories and they're feelings. And one of the things, so she said, and this, bringing this around to hope, she said to me in the letter, I kept writing about how I wish that I could tell him or show him the pain that he caused me, or, the loss and the grief that I deal with because of him, and that I want him to understand. And what she said was, he's never going to understand again. That option is gone, and you have to get rid of that particular hope for you to move on.
Yeah.
Because I keep hoping that my dad will listen to me, that I can make him understand me. And the fact is, he doesn't exist anywhere except inside my head. He's never going to talk back to me. He's never going to feel these things that I have to say. So I have to get rid of that hope, because that's what's holding me back from moving forward on all of the other things that I want to do, or I want to feel, or I want to be better about. And so I think it really is a constant amendment of our own histories, our own declarations of independence from alcohol. Is that tying it? Is that a little too?
That's a good bow line right there. That's a great knot.
Do you know what I mean?
But you're absolutely spitting fucking bars. Go ahead, keep going. Yeah, you're absolutely right though.
So I just think that I think that it's important, and for me, the thing that was really helpful was not only writing it and then reading it to somebody else. And where have we heard this? Where is this? Where have we learned this valuable skill?
Right.
In the program.
Stinky old rooms, dude.
So it doesn't have to be this. It can work for anything. Just write it down and read it out loud to somebody else, whatever the issue is. You know what I mean? Are you eating too much chocolate cake?
Dear Megan, you made cake. It was delicious. You fucking asshole for making cake. Thanks for the cake. I'm conflicted.
Yes. And so there is so that was something that was an epiphany to me, is like, oh, I have all this hope for the future of even just for my day, but there are certain hopes that are dangerous to hang on to. There are certain hopes that are not dangerous, but they're holding me back. So I guess they're detrimental to my.
Yes. The reason why this is resonating with me so much is this breakthrough, in a sense that this therapist tells you the only place your father lives is in your head, right? So it can apply to a lot of things that happen in our life where the only place these things live are in our heads. It's not our reality. It's a distorted version of reality. It's how we process the information and then disseminate it and break it all down in our own heads and go, oh, this is how it is, when that is absolutely not how it is, you know. It's just this idea, and I understand in the sense where your therapist meant that, you know, your father no longer exists with us, you know, so these feelings you have are only occurring in here, but then I'm trying to apply it to things that do currently exist with us, but at the same point, it's very relevant, you know, and I think it works out really well in recovery because you have these ideas of how things are supposed to work, and then after a while, you start realizing that that's not how they work, you know, but you have all these conceptions you raised with, and you make for your own, and you own, and then all of a sudden you realize, like, oh shit, like this is the way I'm doing things is not just dysfunctional, it's just it doesn't support my life in any way, in any positive way, you know. Yeah, that's another reason why I fucking got sober, man. That's another reason why, because it just, these things I learned growing up, I just had this revelation that they weren't feasible, man. They were just unmanageable, of course, using the language of the program, you know.
Yeah, it just came to a point where I was unable to function.
Right.
Even on it, I probably hadn't been functioning optimally for a very long time. I know that.
It'd been a minute, yeah. But you had gaslit yourself and deluded yourself into thinking that this was the only way it had to be. You know, that was the only way it had to be. Because even within our recovery, we can be flexible now with the way things have to be and the way things don't have to be, right? Because you've overcome one big hump in your life. You've overcome this challenge that seemed unsurmountable, and now you realize, wow, I am capable of doing shit now. You know, I can actually do this. If I put my mind to most of it, I can do it. There's some things we just can't. They're not physically possible, you know, but like the fact that you and I run and we sit here and talk about running or working out, or the fact that I worked out for an hour today and lifted weights for an hour, like that was physically impossible to me at one point in my life. But I've sat down and thought, oh shit, if I can live this long without doing the one thing I depended on for every single thing in my life, maybe I can do this new thing, you know?
Dude, I'm telling you. And I
now you're
I
gonna
don't
make
know.
me run to all the slow songs, man.
I think, well, I mean, if you just take it past 5 miles on 6, 7, and 8, you're going to want to run pretty slow. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and the thing that I do is I make myself go all the way the fuck out there, wherever out there is, so that I have to run that back. I'm stuck. And the only way back is to go the other fucking 5 miles or whatever it is. You know, yesterday was almost 9.5, right?
Damn.
And so I was like, I just got out there and it was just me on this lonely ass. Well, it wasn't that lonely. It was pretty busy, but it's just me on this country highway in the bike lane, you know, like in the opposite direction. There's nowhere else to go except to the next fucking street.
Right.
And so that's part of why. So I could have just stayed home and I could have just dragged my feet and I could have just gone around the neighborhood and that would have been fine. Right.
Right.
And so we, you know, and the metaphor is there too. We put ourselves out there and we have to push ourselves into genuinely, like, I need to find out what the fuck is going on inside me, whether that means 9 miles, whether that means writing to my dead father, whether that means looking at my relationship with food or my girlfriend or sex or friendships, or what else am I missing? There's something else probably, you know, my relationship with alcohol still to this day. Right. You know, I had a funny thing and I wanted to share this, and maybe this is,
you should,
maybe you don't feel this way, but so I was in the store. I go to the little market, like the little fruit stand by my house, and I was out of olive oil, and I kind of, you know, I was reaching for bottles of olive oil, and I was like, what's rice bran oil? I was like, or bran rice or rice bran or something. And I picked it up and the bottle felt like a Scotch bottle or something, or like a whiskey bottle. And I was like, yeah, that's the one for me. I'll take that one home.
It had the heft.
And just the way it was kind of had those it had square shoulders. It wasn't just long and slim like a limoncello bottle. Right. But I had this feeling of like, yeah, that's the bottle for me. And it was just this weird sort of, I don't know what it is. I
Was
just
it
felt,
comfort for a second?
yeah, it was
Reassuring,
comfort.
like being reassured. Yeah, I felt
Hmm.
that. Felt its heft and felt the grip
Hmm.
of specific things. But yeah, my wife will buy a bottle of vodka every 6 weeks.
Hmm.
And sometimes when I'm putting stuff in the freezer, she keeps it in the freezer. I have to move it. Like I pick it up and move it. And I feel its familiar heft in my hand. Yeah. And it's
Hmm.
like, I don't know. It almost feels like a choose your weapon in your video game. Like I'm just like, choose your weapon, Wagner. I guess that's not a really good metaphor because you're not touching the video game, but that's how it feels sometimes. Like it feels
Yeah.
comfortable. Like it feels like I know it. Less comfortable, more like I know it. Yeah.
Hmm.
But it's funny. I had one of these, not a similar moment, but I had a moment where I was washing dishes yesterday, and I moved a pan, and the handle of it tipped a wine glass my wife was using like the day before last or something. And it's a really thin, really big,
Hmm.
white wine glass with the big bowl on it.
Hmm.
And it's like paper thin, and it was tipping over, and I grabbed it really quick, and I went fuck, because I was scared it was gonna break. And then I looked at her and I'm like, why is it the glass you're using to get drunk is so paper thin? It's like a fucking dragonfly's wing. And Megan's like, I'm not getting drunk, Jerry. Like, I'm not using that glass to get drunk. And it's like, once again, in my concept, what it was. Like, I get what you're saying, though. Why would the thing that impairs you, you used to impair you be in such a thin bottle, But she's like, I'm not getting drunk. Like, I don't use it to get drunk. Like, she literally will drink, like, the glass. We've already talked about this. Yeah, the glass of wine. Or, like, last night it was like lemonade with a tiny bit, like, dude, not even a full shot of vodka in it. It was like this little tiny 10-year-old amount of, like, for a 10-year-old, like,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, we that's your initial reactions. What are you using this shit to get drunk for? Use a fucking
like,
plastic tumbler.
yeah, dude, put it in a fucking mayonnaise jar and let's get this fucking party revved up. Like, if you drop a mayonnaise jar, it won't break.
Hmm.
What's this
There
tiny
you go.
dragonfly? This shit is made out of wishes.
Hmm. So
It's
and
our
that's
preconceived notion of things.
hmm that's our perspective, and and again, I think in that moment, it's like this panic moment of like, I'm going to shatter this glass and this. So I'm looking for something to be annoyed at or to be
Right.
frustrated at or
Yeah,
to
because it scared
blame,
me. Yeah.
right?
When I broke the
But
other glass by accident washing dishes like 3 months ago, right at the start of quarantine.
hmm I don't know, man. I think too a lot about like the hope and the resentments and like, having this sort of breakthrough with like writing stuff to my dad and why I've known this for like a year and I haven't done it. And she said you should keep doing it. And I put it off and I put it off, and every single day, not every single day, but I would think about it, and then I would put it off and I would think about it and I would put it off, and it's like, oh, what a relief. Like, what have I been waiting for? And I think we also oftentimes in recovery talk about like, I just wasn't ready yet for whatever reason. I wasn't interested. I wasn't ready. I was, you know, closed off to that idea that I could talk about this stuff. I could write it down. I could feel it, because it doesn't feel great. Like, I don't feel, there's not like this light, airy feeling about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Mm-hmm.
writing down a bunch of dark emotions and memories.
Yeah.
And, so this is part of the process. It takes fucking time. Um, I I had somebody call me today, and this is a really good thing. And so I had somebody call me today or text me, and it's somebody that I used to know, and he and his wife used to drink at the bar that I used to work at.
Mm-hmm.
I bartended their wedding. I have known them peripherally, and we've texted back and forth, and kind of people in the neighborhood or in the town. And I think I reached out when I was looking for work, but he said to me, so my wife and I are sober 1 week. And I was like, that's great, man. That's amazing. That's awesome. Like, what's going on? And he just wanted to reach out. He says, I'm following you on social media, and you've been doing so great, and I just wanted to get some pointers and some tips. And so I said, let's have a talk. And this was this morning. And so we talked, and he was just telling me what was going on. and the severity of things for, his wife and for him. And it was really, I felt really good to be able in a place to say, yeah, just give me a call,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to say, sure, like, okay, well, and wanting to be super careful, because I know that we've talked about not wanting to feel responsible for somebody else's relapses,
Right.
but also that's why when I talked about it, said, okay, this is what I did. If you want, I can give you any number of books and literature and fucking podcasts, and here's all the resources. You do what you want with it. And so it was just, it was real, it was just really awesome to be able to be in that position. And I don't think that it doesn't come along very often, and that's fine, but there's been so many people that have there's been several people who have reached out and said, wow, hey, I need some help, or, hey, what did you do? And that's a pretty hopeful thing. And that is evidence that I have changed. And that is evidence that I am a much better person than I was. And that is evidence that what I have is valuable.
Right. So that's your hope. That's part of your hope. Do you know what I mean? That just fuels the hope. Now we're gonna have to find like a C word that denotes hope to name this pod. To name this episode. But yeah, I was trying to think of a Highway to Heaven one, but that doesn't work.
Cake is a lie.
Cake is a lie. Let's hope the cake is real this time. But those are the things you're helping, right? They always say, like, even when I get down with it, my dad and my sisters and my dad are always like, you need to help other people. And I'm like, man, y'all are fucking crazy. But they're absolutely right. Helping helps you. It really does. Yeah, I remember going to meetings and they would be like, today's subject is service. And in early recovery, I was like, man, I got to listen to these guys talk about fucking washing windows or whatever the fuck they're doing for free.
H&I.
And I don't want to do any of that shit, and now as I get older, I realize like those rare moments when I do get to help they're really fulfilling, man. I feel better about myself, and yeah. I'm just glad
heard it here first.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, I'm just glad
Jerry's
John's
ready.
the more approachable one in the podcast.
Jerry's ready.
I'm unapproachable, man. It's just just how I am.
I know.
But then I'm always happy to help. People hit me up and I say, here's what worked for me. Here's what I can do for you. I'm not going to get too close. We're not going to be hand-holding friends or anything. But, like, here's what worked for me. I care about you as a person because it took fucking guts to reach out to someone that you don't really know and ask for help. That takes a lot, man. That's really fucking hard. I still hate asking for help, dude. And I do it, but I hate it. And then once they help me, I'm like, wow, that was really nice of you. And they always walk away being like, wow, I'm glad I helped. Made me feel better, It was
just evidence that things were going in the right direction,
right?
And that was something that's empirical, objective evidence. I didn't go looking for it. I didn't go asking for it. I didn't, and they were open to it and said, yeah, sure. Let's plan to go to this social distance meeting out in the park next week, like, let's go do it. And if it works for you, and that's what I said too, man, like, if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I can't imagine not having that program for me,
right?
But just for me, right? And
same here.
And I accredit that and the structure. I accredit my need for it from my drunken desire, my self-will run riot about chaos and destruction and just living life like I thought it was free, right? Just a fucking leaf in the wind, man. I'm just gonna blow from bar to bar and just,
right.
And needing that structure. And not everybody needs that structure, and not everybody is at a point of hating, self-destructing, self-denial, whatever, right? So sometimes you're just like, man, I need to get fucking healthy, or man, this is not working anymore. It doesn't have to be in the fucking bottom of the pit.
Right.
It really doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to find yourself in the gutter, as they say, as the thing says.
No. All you could do is just want to make a change. Unmanageable doesn't mean fucking destitute and you know what I'm saying? Unmanageable just means unmanageable.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have a traumatic experience to want to get sober. You know what I mean? Although you do probably need a couple of traumatic experiences to get drunk all the time. So,
Yeah, that helps.
that helps. You don't need those either. But I was to say it doesn't need to be. I love this point that I really want to push on that point is that I'm in my cord. I really believe that you don't need your world to end for you to want to stop. You just gotta want to say this is not working and stop. Not just it's not as simple as that. Well, it is kind of simple as that, but I mean,
It's not easy.
there's layers to it, yeah. It's not easy.
And it's just funny because it's not easy when somebody says, "Hey, I want to pick your brain about getting sober," and my first reaction is like, "Okay, so here's the deal. It's not easy. For me, there was a huge spiritual void that was left in my heart and in my soul from the decades of abuse and neglect and alcoholism and blah, blah, blah. And so I had to find a way to let God into my heart. And that sounds fucking ridiculous.
Right.
Right.
They're like, we just want to do fucking sober October. Jesus Christ, John.
And even for me to say that out loud on a podcast, I just need to let God into my heart. It's like, ugh, that's creepy.
Ugh, like,
right?
Really? I'm creeped out by it, but I understand it. I understand it though.
But it's hard to say out loud.
It's it's a weird thing to throw on people. That's a lot of weight, right?
So I didn't say that.
I'm glad you didn't. You just gotta be like, yo, okay, cool. Here's what I did. And then once you get them pulled in, then you just fucking rub the God all over their faces. Just like, oh, you're gonna find Jesus Christ.
I told him too. See, he said something. He brought up Jesus, and I said, because what I said was, I think one of the things that AA gets is a bad rap over God and all that stuff, and I haven't found that. And he said, oh well, I'm cool with Jesus, man. I was raised this, that, and the other. And I said, well, honestly, I haven't seen Jesus in any of these meetings.
Yeah,
I've been going for 5 years.
The whole
maybe
Jesus
he's
thing
sitting in the back.
I'd love to clarify that. Yeah, exactly. Sitting in the back. I know a couple of chewies, but that whole Jesus thing was a joke on my end. I'm not a big Jesus believer.
But
necessarily myself, not to exclude anyone. I just want to make that clear about what I'm saying. I don't want anybody hearing this podcast for the first time being like, oh man, those dudes brought up Jesus 47 minutes into it.
Shitting on Jesus. And it's like,
everybody can believe what they want to believe. Just whatever gets you through the fucking day. If it's Jesus or if it's in my case, a weird bear thing that's turned into other things. This turned into a guy in high heels with a rocket launcher. I don't know.
But yeah, so it's that, that thing that in whatever that thing is that you and I came to, where when I say something like, I need to find a way to let God into my heart, and it creeps me out and it creeps you out, and you're like, but that's the fucking, the long and short of it. And you can use whatever word you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. But
you use astrology. You just sit there with fucking Pokemon cards, whatever you want to do, man.
Pokemon got me sober.
Pokemon got me sober. Squirtle got me off the sauce, dude.
Mm-hmm. Whatever it takes. I really genuinely believe that, and I stand by that. And I think that it's been helpful to me to be open and to be willing to. I know what works for me, but I'm also not unwilling to hear what works for other people.
Well, you and I work two completely different programs, and we still meet up once a week and shoot the shit. My program is very different from your program, but also a lot the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's you know what I would say our programs are like in the canine family. You know what I mean? Like yours is like this certain type of animal, like a wolf or whatever, and mine's like my fucking dog. You know, I mean, they're the same family, but they're built a fox, exactly, or what is it? Hyenas. Like yours is a wolf and mine's a hyena. You know, they're both in the canine family, but they're very different animals, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I don't write things down, and I'm not as actively, I don't know, you're very active in your spirituality, which I admire, and I'm not as. But then again, every week I'm like, man, fucking hopeless. So maybe I should be
fucking write it down, Jerry. Come on.
write it down, right? But I mean, I
think-
have my spirituality and I have my moments of meditation and thoughtfulness and mindfulness. We just do it different ways. Everybody, we all do it different ways. Just like we all drink different, dude.
Sure.
You know?
I think you should write it down. Do your own slam poet musical about fucking
COVID-19 and alcoholism and fucking
yes.
the president, you know, like just this crazy white supremacist ideology and all that crazy shit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the world's going to make people want to drink. And this is another thing this person was telling me was, hey, all the shit, man, I felt myself slipping, and you see it, and I saw it in other people, and, you know, we're all just sitting around the house and fucking drinking and drinking and drinking, and happy hour comes earlier every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever little glimpse of self, what's the word I'm looking for? Self-reflection or self-awareness. I think that's a huge step to go, whoa, something's not right here. Because I used to love, like, I would wake up in our younger days, in the early and mid 20s, I would wake up at like 8 a.m. on a Sunday and feel kind of woozy and hungover and still drunk from the night before. And I was like, oh man, I don't have to work today. I think I'm just going to crack a Budweiser right now. And it would be 8 in the morning. And I saw nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. It was like, I was like, what a treat. I'm just going to drink beer.
I'm all in today. I'm cashing in all my winnings. They're like, sir, here's your $2. Yeah. Oh. Here's your $2. Yeah, you're all in. You just cash it all in. Yeah. It is very easy right now to want to drink. I've not felt like I've wanted to drink, but I've definitely felt like I wanted to drink in some ways. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've looked at Megan and been like, I have a lot of these conversations with my wife. She's my other podcast, you know, except we don't record. But I've been like, man, this shit is enough to drive a motherfucker to drink right now. Like this feeling of hopelessness and powerlessness and shit. And I got to check myself because everything is fucking wild. Regardless of what your political ideology is, no one's happy. And so everybody feels like, and it's very easy to drink. Yeah. It's very easy, and you just gotta find some fucking pinpoint, man. You gotta find that one pinpoint of reason not to. That one reason that it's not feasible, you know. But yeah.
And another thing I was thinking about, you talk about that one reason, and I think that it can be okay for it to start from something external. It doesn't now. I think for me, my sustained sobriety and recovery, the reason has to be for me and me alone. It can't be for my girlfriend or for you or for the podcast. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that that being said, I was telling my therapist, I said, I waited until last night to sit down and write about my dad because I knew it was kind of like my homework was due the next morning. And I waited till the last minute. Right. And I said, sometimes I need these external things to hold me accountable. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a little bit of a difference. I mean, it's important to be held accountable for the same reason I make videos about me doing push-ups in front of the paint store every single day. Mm-hmm.
This is that same paint store. Go ahead. Sorry. Keep going.
It is. But there's it's the perfect angle. There's sign outside. I just put my phone up and it's perfect, right?
The people that work there every day are like, oh shit, he's back again. And then you're just like, and then take off running. Pick up your phone and take off running. Oh my God. Go in with your point though. It's so fucking funny.
So so I think that there's a fine line between I'm gonna get sober for someone else, which is a fine place to start. Yeah. I don't think that it could have sustained itself if that was my only reason. I do think, especially in early sobriety, it's important to have someone to hold you accountable. And I think for me, that was you and my other friend John. And I think you guys were the only ones. And so that was it. And so that's what got me through the first couple 2-3 months before I started to really actually start caring about myself again, which sounds it's true. It's true. We just don't fucking care. There you go. There's a C. We'll call it care about yourself.
Yeah. Care about yourself out there.
I like that one. There you go.
But That's a great point. It's an absolutely great point. It's an absolutely great point. Because when I first got sober, I didn't get sober for me. I got sober because I didn't want my wife to leave me. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm doing this for you. And then after a while, like you said, after a few months, I'm like, wow, this actually feels kind of good. And like, I kind of starting to give a shit about myself a little bit. So maybe this is for me, like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, so I think that I think that there is hope for everyone.
Yes.
And
yes, there is.
I think if I am genuine in my recovery and the things that I have learned and the way that I want to see the world, if I am angry at someone or if I don't like what they do, regardless of how big or powerful or how detrimental they are to my life, to the country, to the world, if I'm harboring a resentment, then I have to look inward at that resentment and figure that shit out. Because, and this is going to sound really fucking corny, Jerry, but for me to stay recovered and sober and grounded, I have to look at that person that I have resentments for and show forgiveness and love and light and positivity and hope that they too can change.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Damn. It's all right. You out there hugging all these fucking weirdos and shit. You're absolutely right, though. And I try to humanize those people that I feel resentments towards. And actually, through my recovery and through my sobriety, it's a lot easier to do. And it comes kind of natural. I may not be at the extent you are, where I'm like, out there holding hands with the fucking MAGA guy. But like, I do understand where he's coming from. And I get it now. Like, it's human to me. I'm like, oh, this is what fuels you as a person. I understand. Like, you feel like whatever it is, like nobody's listening to you, or you feel like the way things were and the way that you were comfortable with things are changing now, and you don't like that, or whatever it is. I get it. There's a human aspect to all of it, and even if that human aspect is like, I just like making people feel like shit. There's something under that, even if it's trolling for the sake of the fucking lols. There's something under them lols, dude. There's something under that trolling, dude. There's something deep in there that fuels that shit. And I get that as a fellow human being. I mean, we all got that,
And things are going to change regardless, and we're not going to like all the changes.
No.
And that's a fact of life, and that's a fact of recovery, right?
You can never go back. Once you've passed it, you can never go back to it. You have to make something new out of what it was. You know what I mean? You got to make a new thing out of what you wanted. You can never go back. So the idea of, I mean, we're going to probably close this out politically, but the idea of making America great again doesn't work because you can never go back to the way it was. That already happened. That's done. You can't make it great again. You know what I mean? We can't go back to the 50s. The 50s are done. That shit's not even a memory. Like,
well, and I think that and to put it in a personal perspective,
right?
As far as change, I find it sometimes that I will compartmentalize my recovery and be beautiful and pristine and perfect and all of those things and forget and practice these principles in all my affairs.
Boom.
Right. And so when I set my gaze on things outside of my recovery,
right,
and if I look at them through the lens of the things that I learned that saved my fucking life,
right,
I begin to see things a little bit better, a little bit clearer, and I feel better. Yeah. And then I'm able to be more active and more interested and more engaged and fucking help myself and other people.
There you go. There you go. Thanks for tethering me in there with your mind crystals.
You got it, dude.
Such a hippie.
Check out my op-ed on my Instagram feed. No, I'm kidding. I don't have one.
Check out John's new blog, and it's just you in like the grossest hemp pajama bottoms, just like namaste.
Namaste.
I'm a nasty man. Do you know Remember when it was your birthday and you told me you were taking a lot of baths? You're in Seattle, and I was like, "How you been?" You're like, "I've been doing a lot of baths." And I gave you the Enya CD and the bath salts, and then I wrote Namaste, and you're all, "What the fuck does Namaste mean?" And it was
I did.
yeah.
Right,
You're all Namaste. What the fuck does Namaste mean?
No,
Anyway,
I go out to the woods and fucking do my kicking crane or whatever it is. I got my couple.
Sail away,
All of
sail away.
I wish I had a bathtub big enough. I would get back into the baths.
My bathtub is too small as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a hot tub though, man.
That's true. It's not mine and it hasn't been fired up in a while, and I don't know how to do the chemicals. But
oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Maybe
you're like it's not mine. Yeah.
It's not mine. It's a one-person hot tub, and it's not mine.
It's only one person.
You could probably squeeze 2 people in there, but I don't know. Maybe I should say I don't know. I'm a little nervous about it.
I want a hot tub. I've always wanted one.
Well, set your mind to it. You can have anything.
That's my goal. That's my sobriety goal for 2021. Just don't die. Get a hot tub.
Perfect.
Perfect.
All right, Jerry.
All right, man. Good
Take
talk.
care of yourself.
Yeah, you too, man. Good talk.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.